Welcome to Sports Biz with LD. I'm your host, Larry Davis, brought to you by the Daily Blue. On my right, my co-host for today, Todd Costello. What's going on, Todd?
Hey, LD, what's happening? Glad to be back.
Todd for PC Richards. Do. We got a buddy of Todd's calling in. He's on the phone right now. 2009 Hall of Famer, the creator of Hoop du Jour, the great Pete Vecsey. Pete, what's going on?
Glad to be here, fellas. Talk some basketball.
Oh, we're going to talk some b-ball. I say we just get right into it. Let's talk about the New York Knicks, Carmelo Anthony, the Knicks with the worst record in the NBA this year. Pete, what's your take on the New York Knicks?
My take on the Knicks is I'm glad I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm glad I don't have season tickets to the team. It's amazing to me that so many people, they pack the Garden no matter what product they put out there. You know, at the same time, I did go to one game this season. I went to the opener against the Bulls, and I was sitting next to Woody Allen, and so we were, talking throughout the game. And at the end of it, I said, "Well, I guess I'll see you another game sometime." And he goes, "Well," he said, "you're gonna have to catch me at just certain games. I bought like 5 tickets this year, 5 games this year, and that's it." So even Woody bailed on him. But look, we knew this was going to be a wasted year. I think everybody knew it except Phil Jackson, and he tried to recoup in many ways. Tried to change the team in many ways, but people don't understand, or they fail to recognize that this is a rookie general manager trying to figure out how to reassemble or restock a team. And, he's not coming as a coach. He's not Phil Jackson, a coach. He's Phil Jackson, rookie general manager who brought along a rookie coach in Derek Fisher. And they have to totally renovate the roster. But he didn't do it when he should have. He had a chance. He could have done it big time by not re-signing Carmelo Anthony. And that was a huge mistake, and that's going to be a mistake for the next 5 years.
Well, I think he felt, like you're saying about that the Garden, how they pack it in. One thing I want to agree with you, I don't think it matters the product the Knicks or Rangers put on the field of the Garden. The Garden in 212 area code with all that money, Pete, it's not about the regular people going to a game. It's about, say, like Todd Costello and PC Richards. It's about all these big companies, the financial companies, the banks, the insurance companies, who are going to buy the tickets anyhow. So does the product really matter on a business level?
Well, I agree. I mean, you're right, but that's a sad way of doing it. And there are a lot of fans in there. They're just not companies. They might buy the most expensive seats down low on the floor, entertainers, in back of that. But I know many of my friends have been outpriced with these tickets. But then I see many more of my friends going partners on the tickets and stuff. And they're not rich guys, and I swear I don't know how they afford it anyway. To me, my entertainment dollar, I'm going to go see a play. No, I'm not going to go see the Knicks.
Yeah, and Pete, this is Todd. You could already see with Phil Jackson I think what you said before with Carmelo, that kind of added to the dominoes of some bad decision-making, which if you look at what Timothy Mozgov just got 2 first-round draft picks, could you only imagine if he had Tyson Chandler instead of basically giving him away earlier in the season? I think it would have been a much smarter decision to keep a chip like that around and wait for teams at the trading deadline to come knocking at the door. Some of these big men who got incredible value for teams can't really tie Tyson Chandler's shoes.
Well, I mean, in one regard, you're correct. But Jackson came in not only, re-signing Carmelo, but he brought in a rookie coach, and he brought in his triangle offense. And so he identified Tyson Chandler as not fitting into the triangle offense, which is correct. What he failed to recognize is that nobody else fit into the triangle.
Yeah. Well, what about the other 12 guys?
Yeah, Yeah. So, as time went on, you saw how many guys did not understand it, could not play it, would not play it. Carmelo, people asked me at the beginning of the year, he's talking a good game, he's saying all the right things. And I said, watch when the pressure is on during a 24-second clock gets low, or the game is tight, or he figures he's got to do it by himself. He's not going to play any triangle offense. His habits are too ingrained. They're bad habits. They'll always be his habits. And no matter what he does, or even if he really believes that he'll try to do it, he can't do it. And so they better just get rid of this triangle concept. It worked with Jordan, who was totally against it most of his career, but it still works for him. It worked with Kobe, but in both cases, Phil Jackson, Jordan was always angry at the fact that, oh man, Phil wants us to play the triangle for 3 quarters, and then when we're down 15 points in the fourth quarter, he goes, all right, Michael, here's the ball. Now, that's a quote from Michael to me that I've used. And Kobe, at the end of Phil's reign in L.A., went away from the triangle more and more because the talent wasn't there, so he had to rely more and more on Kobe. So the triangle is a farce. Look at the teams that have won without it. You don't need it, but if you've got superstars, it can work in outside shooting, which, again, let me say Calderon. Like Phil Jackson got Calderon and is now obligated to pay him an extra season if he can't move him during the summer. And Calderon is a decent player, but he does not fit into a triangle because the triangle necessitates you hitting 3-pointers from the corner and stuff, and that's not his style. And so he's obsolete in this also. So again, that we knew it was a wasted season. It became more of a waste as it went on. Todd is right about Tyson Chandler, but they did get rid of Felton. They got rid of his contract on that deal. So okay, Chandler wasn't going to do anything for them anyway. But again, assets. Could they have gotten more if they kept Shumpert and J.R. Smith and traded them, a little later? It remains to be seen. But he gets an F. He gave himself an F for the season, Phil, and now he's got the whole off season he's got how much? 30 plus million in salary cap to fool around with. Let's see who comes. I'm saying right now they will not get a superstar. They're going to have to overpay some guy who's on the next rung down. None of those superstars are coming here. Nobody wants to play with Carmelo. I'm telling you that.
Which is what they did with Amari. But just get back to Carmelo for a second. Please, stop telling me you love the Knicks and wanted to come to the Knicks. You had over $30 million. Pete, has anyone ever got up to the microphone in any sport, except I think maybe Zach Greinke, the pitcher for the Dodgers, and said, yeah, I came here because they gave me the most money? Has anyone ever done that?
Well, Carmelo made that obvious when he could have waited until the end of that season with the Nuggets and then just chose the Knicks. He could have chosen to let the Knicks stay as they are and not trade any of those assets to Denver. He was a free agent, unrestricted at the end of the year, but he wanted that extra year and that extra money every year, the increment raises every year. So it was all about money, and it was clear. He didn't say it specifically, but it was very clear what he did. Well, actually, he did say it. He did say it was for the money. So,
well, also,
and ruin the franchise.
Getting back to your triangle point, it's very interesting to me that over in Golden State, how Steve Kerr is not running the triangle offense, and I would make the argument that he has players that could efficiently run the triangle, hit those corner threes, as you said, and use some of the pivot guys as pass-throughs. And I think that ultimately Steve Kerr really chose a much better situation for him, and one of Phil's disciples is not running the triangle at all.
Yeah, well, obviously he chose the right situation, but Todd, you're exactly right. that team has everything you need to run a triangle offense. They've got great passers, they've got great shooters, inside and out, and they're very unselfish, that team. So it would work easily, and Kurt chose not to do it. So, exactly, great point, and we'll underline it as QB says, with a felt pen.
What happened to Mark Jackson there, Pete? I mean, how did Mark Jackson lose his job after they won 50 games?
It's a convoluted story. God, I don't know if we have time for it, but they were after him. The owner turned on him because Billy West was in his ear, telling him he didn't like him. He didn't like him in the beginning. He could have hired him a couple times. Never even gave him an interview when he was in Memphis, and was against the Warriors taking him when they signed him, and then was in the owner's ear as a consultant. So Jerry's telling him whatever. I talk to Jerry all the time. Jerry would tell me stuff he didn't like about Mark. And, who cares, Jerry, because he's getting through to the team. But he would say stuff that was so ridiculous, like they don't practice defense, they don't do the Jerry, you're absolutely wrong. Look at the defense, the way it's turned around. Look at the way those players have progressed, with Mark. Who else would have given Draymond Green a shot like he got as a rookie? As a rookie, nobody. How about Spates? Nobody liked him before he got to the Warriors. Mark liked him. They took away Jared Jack on him. They did a lot of things to undermine his situation. He still got to the second round, first round, second year. Didn't have the center. Everybody totally overlooks it. Going to Game 7 in LA against the Clippers, lost in the last minute or so without your starting center for any game. They were undermining him. The assistant coaches were undermining him. They were taking conversations on him and turning them over, we believe, to management, trying to trap him to say something. Knocking other, what's the assistant, the redheaded assistant was with the Nets?
Brian Scalabrine? Brian? Yeah.
What's his name?
Brian
Scalabrine?
Brian.
He goes into a meeting. With Mark and the other assistants, and Mark said to him, he said, you haven't spoken to me in like 5 weeks. He says, what is the deal here? Are you ever going to speak? Can you imagine an assistant coach deciding not to talk to the head coach? And then he proceeded, Scalabrine, proceeded to tell everybody in the room, how he should have been the guy that Mark was relying on. He played the game. You guys didn't do anything. Other assistants. What did you guys ever do? It's like, what? What are you talking about? And he said, I'm just trying to get through the next 11 games of the season. You're trying to get through it. So Mark goes out and gets the general manager to come in here, who was Scalabrine's agent. I mean, there's so many conflicts. Going on there. It was crazy. And they decided, he said the same thing in front of Bob Myers. And Myers decided to say, well, Mark has decided to send him down to the D League as a coach. Mark wanted to fire him right then and there. They spun everything on Mark. It was crazy. I'll tell you, when your owner is against you, you don't have any shot.
He got no shot. We're talking with the great Pete Vecsey, 2009 Hall of Fame in Basketball Hall of Fame. Pete, who won and who lost yesterday in the NBA trade? And one quick thing, Michael Carter-Williams. I mean, why you trade Michael Carter-Williams? I don't get that trade, but like I said, who won and who lost, you think, yesterday in the NBA trade?
Well, let's we didn't talk about the Nets. I know BG Rich is a big sponsor of the Nets, right?
Who aren't they a big sponsor of, Pete?
Well, I could tell you this: we're not in Madison Square Garden. We've been priced out of that place for 100 years. But just before you comment on Brooklyn, it's to me, what a horrible situation. I mean, they brought in all these guys a couple of years ago looking for a championship, and now they have old, expensive people who nobody wants, and even their own coach doesn't want any of them, which he's been on record as saying, and they have to be a very unhappy bunch these last 20, 30 games. Don't you think, Pete?
I'm not sure I agree with all of that. Look, they just moved. They got rid of Garnett. Pierce is gone, so those are two old guys gone. Lopez isn't old. Darren Williams is, 30?
Yeah,
well, he's an old 30,
right.
and he's a max.
Joe Johnson's as good a player as you can find anywhere. I'm a big fan of his. So they do have a lot of young players, a lot of Europeans. They tried. They came very close. I'm sure it was in the papers that they came very close to trading Lopez to Oklahoma City for Reggie Jackson and I believe Terrence Jones and Kendrick Perkins. And then they were going to move Perkins to Philadelphia, dump his salary on Philly. And then they were going to move Jarrett Jack. But they still, they got Thaddeus Young, who Billy King had signed in Philadelphia, and I believe he's a real decent player. I hope they end up keeping him. I don't know. I wouldn't have made the Lopez trade. I like Reggie Jackson, but I think Lopez is a really big asset. I think you get much more for him than that. And but Oklahoma City, they ended up taking Cantor as a center instead of Lopez. That was it was either or, and they took the other deal. They took or. And Cantor is a big post-up player, but I think Lopez with the pick and roll with Durant and Westbrook and stuff, he really could have turned them into a championship team. So, Oklahoma did well. There's no question about it. You asked me who did well. They did real well, but I think they could have done much better. As far as Williams goes, one more thing on Darren Williams. Hollins, he's known. He's notorious for bringing out the weakness in his players. If you miss a shot, you miss two shots, he's on your case. And he's been on Darren Williams big time this year. Williams been hurt again, and when he wasn't hurt, he was missing shots. He totally lost his confidence. Hollins helped with that, and hopefully things have been said to Hollins that we're going to change things for the last 30 games or so, and I think we're going to see a much better Darren Williams. Well, tune in again in 30 games.
Pete, some of the
Williams.
Oh, go ahead.
You want to talk about Williams?
Yeah.
With Philly. So that team, if you play for that team, you can't think there is one iota of loyalty going on down there. This guy, this general manager is like he changes things. Like he's such an analytics guy that it doesn't seem to matter that you're dealing with personalities and human beings. Get a draft pick, get another draft pick, get another draft pick. No, they're not trying to win it all. Players are trying to win. Management's not. He's all about accruing number one draft picks. By the way, we'll become human beings someday. And they will say to themselves, hey, wait, he did it to how many other guys? This guy won Rookie of the Year. They dumped him. Why won't he do it to me? So I despise what's going on down in Philadelphia.
That was a weird one.
I think the Bucks took a step backward by taking him and and trading Knight to the Suns. The Suns kind of recouped, getting rid of Dragic, who one of my favorite players in the league is Dragic. He goes to Miami, so Miami really did well. But I don't know if you've seen it today, is that Bosch might have a blood clot.
Yeah. Blood clots and could miss the rest of the season.
And that's how Jerome Kersey died, right?
So he could be lost. That's the end of that season. They get a break out, and the next day they find out blood clots. So what is going on with blood clots? Jerome Kersey just died of one. Now he's older, but Telenovich had a blood clot out for the year. Now Bosch has a blood. What is this? What's going on?
Yeah, what is going on? Pete Vecsey, some of the great lines that you used over the years, Spencer Driftwood. Years ago you called MSG Engulf and Devour.
Yeah.
And I think when Dolan...
Spencer Haywood.
Right.
And I actually took a picture of Spencer and myself at the Legends brunch the other day. Yeah, and I was joking with him that I don't know if he thought it was funny, but I said, "Damn," he said, "Thank God I was quick back in the old days." I said, "Because when you chased me down that hallway at the Garden, I wanted to take my head off." So I said, "I was backtracking pretty quick."
I'm sure a lot of players wanted to do that to you, Pete. Pete, you're going to have to come back on. It went so quick. You're going to come back on the show even if Todd's not here?
No, I got to have Todd.
So do I just have to have a pinup doll? Can I just have a pinup doll of Todd and you'll still be here?
Well, Peter, thank you. Peter, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on being elected to the Basketball Hall of Fame. That had to be an extremely proud moment for you, and thank you for joining me and Larry.
All right, thanks, folks. Take care.
Pete, thanks, man. Great Pete Vecsey, Hall of Famer, the guy to talk hoops with. There is no other guy. I mean, really, there isn't. There's no guys taking it.
I could tell you this. He's supposed to be retired, and he knows more about what's going on than anybody. I mean, he could have went through every single team, what the trades were. He is so plugged in. And this is a guy sitting home in Shelter Island, just once again supposed to be retired.
Right. We didn't have the time to go through it. Let's go to the next topic. I mean, we're here with Todd Costello, PC Richard, PC Richard and son, and hopefully I would think, grandson-in-law, but it doesn't really happen. I don't know. You only got 30 years there. But that's just my opinion, Todd. Look at this one. Cover of the Post a couple of days ago. Let's get into a little A-Royd conversation here. That's the front with Brian Williams, and here's the back. I want to get your take, Todd. You are a sponsor of the New York Yankees. As a matter of fact, I saw in the paper you have a couple of days there, giveaway days. Does that hurt your business to be involved with the Yankees when stuff like that happens? He's on the front page.
Well, I think it would hurt a lot worse if it was something, some violent crime against somebody, a woman or this or that. I just think that when it comes to steroids, everybody's just worn out of that conversation. And we've been dealing with steroids in baseball and in all the sports for the better part of 30 years now. And I think it's just a topic that really nobody just really wants to get into it anymore. It's like everybody wants to turn the page, and A-Rod, I think, has zero credibility. I think after he writes the letter, he has zero credibility. I think the Yankees would do really anything they could to, A, try to void his contract, B, try to just pay him off. It's my personal opinion that I think they're going to stick him on the bench and try to make him so miserable that he retires. And I think that his ability as a 39-year-old, twice hip surgery, out for the last year and a half due to suspensions and surgeries, without steroids, guys in baseball in their early 30s start to decline. With steroids, they were able to play into their 40s and still play really well. A-Rod's days are over. As far
well,
as
you
I'm
had told me
concerned.
you have a hip problem too, so you're like, there's no way you don't think he'll be able to play.
Absolutely not.
And then, so you're involved with the Mets, you're involved with the Islanders, who, wow, that's a resurgence for you, right? You're a Long Island-based company. Now the Islanders are hot. Does that correlate to business, or just you guys being involved in the sports arena, you just believe it's just part of it and helps it? Do you see more business because the Islanders are doing better?
Well, just to go back, we haven't been a part of the Mets for many, many years now.
Okay.
But when it comes to the Island, well, let's put it this way. Being a New York tri-state area company, whether we sponsor the team or not, when teams are playing really well, the local teams, people get excited and start buying TVs. And when all the teams, over the last 3-4 years, with the exception of the Rangers really going to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, there has been really nothing going on with New York sports. I mean, look at me this morning. I'm watching offensive tackles on the at the scouting combine go through their drills because they're thankfully we're having a hockey season, but there's no basketball season. There's very little hope for a baseball season coming up. Last year there was no baseball season. The Jets were terrible. The Giants were terrible. And you can't really motivate people to get that new 4K TV when their favorite team is playing as lousy as they've been.
Did you guys have anything to do with the NBA All-Star Game? You have a relation with the Nets, even though that you don't have a relation with the Garden?
Well, the All-Star Game was a little different because the Nets didn't control anything.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I was reading in one of the papers where even at Madison Square Garden, James Dolan got taken out of his seat because the NBA had sold that seat on him. So I will say this: we had Mike Francesa do his radio show from our Atlantic Avenue store, which is right across the street from the Barclays Center. And he had J.J. Redick on the program, who came kind of... JBL was a very big sponsor this year, so JBL kind of jumped into the PC Richard and Son relationship and said, hey, we want to kind of support you in that showroom that day. We want to bring Mike Francesa and we want to bring J.J. Redick. And it was really a fun day to be there. We had some, Papa shots with basketball. We had some giveaways. So we had a lot of fun. It really wasn't funded by us. JBL and their association with the NBA was what made that happen.
Sounds like the stuff that you guys do when you open stores anyhow, all that kind of fun stuff. Right here, donated by PC Richard and Son. Go on a Facebook page, and the question's going to be, who was our guest, and what year was he in the Hall of Fame? How about that one? If anyone can get that one, we will definitely send you this Bose headphones. Gotta love this, man. These are beautiful. Right? These are beautiful. They sell hot?
Absolutely. Quiet Comfort headphones, noise canceling. You put them on, you don't hear anything on the outside. You only hear your music or the LD Sports Biz show, hopefully,
I love that.
you're listening
or
to.
It's good for married guys if they don't want to listen to their wives.
That's it. It could be. Could be.
I got to thank Todd Costello, PC Richard and Son, the vice president. Going to any PC Richard and Sons and tell them you saw Todd on Sports Biz with LD. I don't know if that'll get you anything, but it'll be nice to hear the Todd Costello name. Welcome. This is Sports Biz with LD. I'm Larry Davis. Thanks for watching.